Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now the 2022 Chevy Silverado ZR2 just went on sale and it's pretty capable off-road. However, it can't really compete with the top dogs from Ford and Ram, the TRX and the F-150 Raptor. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why as we compare the three in design from front, side, and rear. I'm also going to show you the interiors because I think both the Ford and the Chevy have stepped up their interiors quite a lot with these latest versions, and I want to show you that and compare that to the ZR2's interior. And I'm also going to redesign the ZR2 into probably, hopefully, a proper TRX competitor. It's going to be a lot of fun. However, Chevy has essentially confirmed that there will be a more beefed up ZR2 for the 2023 model year, and that will be called the ZR2 Bison. The standard 2022 ZR2 is powered by a 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque, 6.2 liter V8. It comes with 33-inch tall Goodyear Wrangler Territory off-road tires and upgraded dampers. It also now has front electronic locking differential in addition to the rear locker. But here's the thing, Chevy will most likely not upgrade the powertrain for the Bison. Instead, they will add more off-road protection to the standard ZR2, similar to what they did to the Colorado ZR2 Bison. A rugged steel skid plate and bumper package by American Expedition Vehicles will be added in addition to skid plates for the front, the transfer case, fuel tank, and the rear differential. This is all great, but I feel like Chevy doesn't really go all out with the Bison like Ford and Ram did with the Raptor and the TRX based on these spy photos right here. It's close in power to the 450 horsepower twin turbo V6 in the Raptor, and that is the standard ZR2 with the 420 horsepower V8. And I prefer the noise of the V8 in the ZR2 over the V6 noise from the Raptor, but it's nowhere near the monster that is the 702 horsepower supercharged V8 in the TRX. But the powertrain isn't my biggest issue with the ZR2. It just doesn't look as cool as the other two for several reasons that I'm going to show you in just a second. So don't worry, that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. We're going to take the ZR2 and I'm going to transform it, widen it, put some maybe 37-inch tall tires, turn it into a proper TRX Raptor. I'm also going to take a bumper package from American Expedition Vehicles and apply it, integrate it in the front end of the ZR2. It's going to be interesting to see how that is going to turn out. Alright guys, so we are inside of Photoshop and let's start the comparison between these designs. So up top we have the ZR2, the Ram TRX, and the Ford F-150 Raptor down there. I do like all of these trucks. I think they all have something to bring to the table when it comes to design. They have a very, very distinct front fascia, all of them. Let's start with the ZR2 up here. We have this now, this typical Chevy Silverado LED that I thought in the previous generation, the pre-facelifted generation, it looks way too narrow. So I'm really glad that they beefed it up and added some thickness to this. And also another thing I like about this new LED is that it feels more dynamic. It's not just one line going across here. Now we have different thicknesses in it as well. So this part is definitely thicker than this part. This part right here thinner than this. And it feels more dynamic. It just feels like a nice addition, a perfect upgrade to the already existing graphics. You're still gonna know that this is a Silverado, obviously, because the shape is still the same, but it has more power to it, more intensity to this light. Then we have some interesting lights right here in the grille that I'm not sure why they are there, but it's gonna, I think, distinguish the ZR2 from the other Silverado trim levels when you have these lights up here, specifically looking at it at nighttime. And down here we have this big bumper, massive, proper rugged bumper down here with the skid plate, and of course you have the red tow hooks down here looking very cool. I think the red tow hooks works well with this design because we have the red in the ZR2 logo right here as well. So it kind of connects the two graphic features in that way. Everything else, it kind of looks a little too tame for me. I wish Chevy would come out with a proper TRX competitor and just go all out nuts when it comes to beefiness and power. And it does have a 420 horsepower V8, so the powertrain is still pretty good. I mean, if the TRX and the Ford Raptor didn't exist, this would be a proper performance truck, but now we have something else to compare it to. The TRX specifically kind of messes that up. So now we want to see something similar from Chevy. That's what I'm going to do in the redesign. Looking at the side here, I do like this line right here. We're going to have a look at this more in side view, but we're lacking, there are a couple of problems which I'm going to show you more in side view that creates more of a top-heavy design compared to the Ram and the Ford F-150, and also these 33-inch tires. They just feel too small. Like, we need to fill them out better in the wheelhouse, make them more rugged and more beefy. Looking at the TRX, this comes with 35-inch tires, as you can see right here, fills out the wheelhouse a little better. I love the front graphics of the Rams at the moment. That's the reason why I decided to buy my Rebel myself, because I just love the design of this. If you want to have a the truck that wins the beauty contest of these three, it's going to be the TRX and the Ram every single time, and that goes for the interior as well, which I'm going to show you in just a minute. But this has the headlights from, I think, the limited trim level, even though they are smoked out here to make them darker, and it works great with this grille that's now more flat and stretched out than we have on the Rebel, for example. And definitely have a look at these beefy fenders that sets the TRX apart from the regular Rebel. Going down to the Ford F-150, still have a distinct graphic features in the front end. We have this line that goes into the headlights, the daytime running lights, then they go down in the normal F-150, they then continue down here. This is something that I miss in the Raptor. These look a little too aftermarket-y for my taste, coming straight from the Ford factory. I wish they could implement these lights a little better, maybe just make an LED light like this or something like that. This looks like they would have slapped on as an afterthought or as an aftermarket addition to the truck. I do prefer when we have the regular LED go into the bumper like we have on a normal F-150, a non-Raptor F-150. But this is a feature that I've always loved about the Raptor, having the Ford stamped, spelled out big in the grille. It looks so cool, and then you have these Raptor lights that are necessary because of the added width to this truck, and that goes for the TRX as well. But it's lacking on the ZR2 because it's not wide enough like these other two beefy trucks here. And the thing is, you can get this with 37-inch tall tires from factory. So in that regard, in the beefiness and in the wheel sizes, Chevy is definitely falling behind. So let's have a look at the rear before we look at the most important view, which is the side view, and then the interior as well before we go into the redesign. There's really not a lot to talk about here because rear views of trucks, and it just houses the bed basically, and the bed, as you know, is all about function. If we look at the design, the one I prefer the least is going to have to be the Silverado. The reason for that is this just looks way too high. It looks too top heavy. Compare this mass where the body panel is, the height of the body panel, the colored body panel. Compare that, for example, to the TRX, which feels like it's a lot slimmer, a lot more athletic, and you also have this beautiful chamfer and this beefy shoulder in the rear end. You can see the air outlet right there in the wide body kit that comes on the TRX. And also the two bazooka tailpipes right here that we have on the Raptor as well. I love that they put these type of style of exhaust on the Raptor and didn't go with the, you know, the typical Ford F-150 side exhaust and go something like this, which I'm not a huge fan of. This looks so much better. It looks like it's two cannons that shoots the truck forward. And one thing I've always loved about the Raptor is that you can see the wide body kit by just looking at the chamfer going around the taillights and the headlights. It feels like it just added mass and width without kind of integrating it really in the other graphics, and that just creates a more awesome look in my opinion. It's more integrated a little bit in the TRX, but here they just slapped a wider body onto the truck and called it a day, and they didn't even show that with this chamfer right here. Another little detail I love about the TRX is that in this generation, this now has a bit of a curvature to it. It used to be in the previous generation, it was just a flat line like this. It creates more beauty in the rear end, in my opinion. It's a subtle little wave in the tailgate. It just makes it more interesting to look at than if we just were to have a straight line. Now let's look at the side view here. This is where it gets interesting when you look at the top heaviness of the ZR2 compared to the other two, the TRX and the Ford F-150. So the thing here is that we have the graphics around the wheel arches. They feel like they're just too thin here. What this creates is a bigger mass of body colored above the wheel arches, and this kind of creates a bit of a top heavy look for the ZR2, and that in combination, it's more emphasized by the small 33-inch tires. I mean, they're not small, but in comparison, we're comparing it now to the TRX and the Raptor, it just makes it look too small, and it looks like it sits too high on too small of tires. But what I like about the ZR2 is this fluid line in the side view. Usually I'm a fan of a continuous shoulder line going from one end, the front end, to the rear end. But this looks pretty good because I think these lines, this one line right here and this line right here, they are kind of intruding in the box design of the Silverado, so that it connects the three boxes of a truck very beautifully. Specifically this line cutting into box number 2 right here, which is the greenhouse and the cab of the truck. So it's not a bad design, but I think it just needs a little more help to make it planted more and make it look a lot more awesome, like the TRX, for example. Just look at the height here. Compare the height of the ZR2 to the height of the TRX, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Here we have more of a plastic cladding around the wheel arches, and that creates, when it's thicker like this than it is thinner on the ZR2, that creates less mass above it, and it makes the truck look more planted. And that also, of course, in addition to the 35-inch tires right here, which fills out the wheelhouses more, it just looks better, and it looks like it's more capable and not going to tip over if you take a corner too hard, kinda like the ZR2 does in some ways. To me, when I look at these designs, I think the Ram 1500s, and that includes the TRX, has the most proper looking truck proportions with the three box designs. If you were to sketch a truck, if you were to ask a child to sketch a truck, I think it would look most likely like the Ram 1500s, with less styling in the side and more just straight lines all over the place with 3 clearly defined boxes. Now, looking at the Ford F-150 Raptor, the thing is this comes with 37-inch tires from factory, which we have right here. You can see just how more planted this looks and how much more capable it looks when you have 37-inch tires on here. I really like this design as well. I think it's a good looking truck. We have this typical Ford F-150 dip in the window that allows the driver to have a better visibility down here, because you don't have any door cutting into the glass like we have on the other two. So this sits lower for a function, and I think that's been around in the Ford F-150 for maybe 20 years or something like that. A design feature that you can tell by just looking at the cab, the side view of a window of a F-150, and you know that it is an F-150 by just looking at this dip right here. Also has a very typical 3-box design, as you can see right here. Beautiful looking truck. If you wanna, talk about truck proportions, quickly, let's talk about the interior, and this is where I think all three have really stepped up their game when it comes to the interior. Even the Chevy Silverado up here, as you can see, beautiful upgrade with the new generation 2022 Silverados. It looks fantastic compared to the 2021 model. It looked like it came from 1996. We now have a similar setup in all of these interiors, and I think all of them look really good. If I were to pick one, this is one of the reasons I actually picked Ram, because I still think that the Ram feels the most high quality built. The build quality in the inside of the Ram just feels super tight, and I also like that we have a vertical 12-inch screen instead of having them be horizontal like we have on the Ford and the Ram here, for example. With that said, let's jump in and continue in Photoshop, and let's try and turn the ZR2 into a proper TRX competitor. So I wanted to take all the information that I had about the new Bison and kind of enhance that even more. So I want to have the specific American Expedition vehicles steel skid plate and bumper in the front end, and apply that onto the ZR2. But as I said with the Ford Raptor, for example, I don't like when they have aftermarket lights inside of the bumpers that comes from factory. So I want to integrate those lights better into the bumper and create an LED strip, for example, that has a similar feel to what the front fascia of this Silverado in general looks like, with this curved LED that creates the DNA of the lighting. I want to have something similar in design when it comes to the graphic element that are the bumper lights, to have them be more in line with the rest of the front fascia and not just be two pod lights down there that sticks into the bumper, for example. Other than that, we need to work on the height and the center of gravity visually of this ZR2. That means that we need to put some bigger tires on here. I would love to see a ZR2 with 37-inch tires. That would be fantastic. So maybe, I'm not sure what the exact size of these tires are gonna be, but they're probably gonna be around 37 inches by the looks of them. And in addition to that, I want to increase the thickness of the cladding going around the wheelhouses to reduce the body mass above both axles. And that is going to bring down visually the center of gravity, and that, in addition to bigger tires, is definitely going to plant this ZR2 better than it does in stock form, with the thin cladding around the fenders and of course the relatively small 33-inch tires. Now, one could speculate as to why Chevy won't really put out a competitor to the Raptor and the TRX. I mean, the ZR2 is close to the Raptor when it comes to power, but it's not close to when it comes to off-road capabilities. And the thing is, if you were to buy a fully loaded ZR2, it's gonna overlap the price of a base Ford F-150 Raptor. So I'm not sure how they think, what their thinking was there. Yes, you do get a V8 in the ZR2, which is fantastic. It makes a really nice sound with the V8 compared to the twin turbocharged V6 that you have in the Ford Raptor. But still, I think they could beef up the visual aspect of the ZR2, specifically if they're gonna release a Bison version, make it wider and make it more planted, and that's what I'm doing right here. So I actually widen both the front and the rear fender here by maybe a couple of inches. You can barely see it when it's finished, but if you look at the before and after pictures, you're gonna notice a difference, that there is something beefier about this redesign, but you can't really tell what it is, and that would be the widened fenders in both the front and the rear end. Last but not least, I wanted to change the color. I do like this blue color that the ZR2 has stock, but make it more so that it blends in with nature. Make it more of an earthy color, and I think some sort of burgundy deep red would suit this truck. And since it's called Bison as well, it kind of feels right to have this almost blood red color to the exterior of the ZR2 Bison. So that's the last change I'm doing here on this redesign. And it was a really fun redesign to create. Not something that I think Chevy will officially release, since they said they're only gonna add some more off-road capability to protection to the Bison version and not touch the drivetrain. But still, one can dream, and this is my dream of what a Chevy Silverado ZR2 beefed up competitor to the Raptor and the TRX could potentially look like. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.